Welcome to this deep dive. Our mission here is really to cut through that stack of sources. You might have notes, articles, research, pull out the key nuggets, and give you a shortcut to being, well, truly well-informed on a topic.
Exactly. And today our focus is pretty sharp. We're looking at notes and highlights from a recent Lafayette Chamber of Commerce Connectors meeting, plus some, related material you provided that kind of shines a light on the bigger picture these local folks are operating in.
So it's much more than just who showed up, right? It's about getting a feel for the pulse of that local ecosystem, the flow of services, talent, nonprofits, what's actually happening on the ground.
Yeah.
And going through your notes, one of the first things that really jumped out was this very unique networking format they used.
Oh, yeah.
Your notes describe it as anything but standard, designed for genuine connection, not just swapping cards. What was so different?
Well, it really aimed to connect a whole range of people, specialized services, creatives, nonprofits. The meeting itself sounded incredibly lively. Great turnout, really diverse crowd owners, entrepreneurs, nonprofit folks.
And this networking musical chairs thing, Fred Stein coordinated it. What did your notes say about how that actually worked? Sounds kind of intense.
It was rapid fire.
Yeah.
Just 30 seconds to chat with someone, then boom, rotate to a new partner.
Wow, 30 seconds.
Yeah, it forces incredible conciseness. You have to get right to the point,
But there was a twist, right? Your notes mentioned kind of a brilliant twist. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yes. Okay, so after those super quick rounds, everybody had to stand up and introduce the last person they talked to.
To the whole group.
The whole group, yeah.
That is smart. It
But-
totally changes the dynamic, doesn't it? You can't just be thinking about your own pitch.
Exactly. It forces active listening. You have to actually synthesize what you just heard. And it pushes for a much deeper connection than just grabbing a business card.
Yeah.
That detail alone tells you something important about the intention behind these meetings.
Mhm.
And the notes also mentioned chamber staff, Holly and Grace, handling logistics, making sure it all ran smoothly before the open chat started.
Okay, so beyond the format, what was the actual substance? Who was there? What kinds of local businesses were represented? Sounds like an interesting mix.
It really was. Starting with legal services, Patrick's practice came up. He does business law, startups, contracts, M&A, sort of the standard corporate stuff you might expect.
But there is a striking detail in your notes about that.
Yes. Roughly 75% of his work is actually estate planning.
75%. Wow, that's heavily weighted. What does that suggest about the local market there in Lafayette?
Well, it strongly suggests a huge need among Lafayette homeowners, probably East Bay folks generally, for help with California's, let's say, complex probate system.
Right. High property values make that crucial.
Exactly. Avoiding probate is critical. And his focus on making trusts and estate plans seem simple, affordable, that clearly hits a major local need.
Okay. What about the financial side? Fred Steinraft, the guy who coordinated the networking, he's in financial advisory. Your notes picked up something interesting about his role.
Yeah, he apparently feels a big part of his job now is being an emotional counselor for his clients.
An emotional counselor in finance. How so?
It's more than just, investments and market talk. He described it as helping clients navigate the anxiety, the hopes, the fears tied up with their money, especially when markets get shaky.
Huh. Acknowledging the human side of money.
Precisely. It's not just rational, it's deeply emotional. And his measured take on tariffs and market conditions suggested, keep an eye on things, but for long-term investors, maybe it's not like past crises.
That adds a really human dimension. And interestingly, your notes caught a mention of someone else using AI to understand tariff impacts locally.
Yeah, that's a great example of how these bigger global issues and the tech filter down even into a community setting like this. It shows tech integration isn't just for the big guys.
Definitely. Shifting gears a bit, what about healthcare and wellness? What did your notes capture there?
A lot of variety, actually. Corrine, she's an acupuncturist and a spiritual coach, representing the holistic side.
Okay.
And she also chairs the Lafayette Business Women's Group. They do this smart thing, alternating meeting times, morning, then afternoon, to make it more accessible for people with different schedules.
That's thoughtful, a practical detail that makes a difference.
Totally. And then there was a new chiropractor setting up shop. His approach sounded incredibly specific.
How specific?
They only work on the C1 and C2 vertebrae, the very top ones in the neck.
Just those two. Wow, that sounds like a super niche, really focused practice.
Yeah, the notes described it as objective, measurement-based, functional. And apparently that kind of specialization is pretty rare, especially in the East Bay. They're looking for office space too, so that flags a local growth opportunity right there.
And the notes also mentioned a crucial nonprofit in the wellness space.
Yes, the cancer support community. Vital work. They provide non-medical support groups, workshops, exercise programs for patients and their families.
That's so important.
Yeah, and the representative shared some personal connections to the mission, really underscoring the human impact. So Lafayette seems to have this really well-rounded local ecosystem for well-being, specialized physical care, holistic approaches, and that essential emotional support.
Moving to the creative sector, your notes showed a strong showing there too, right?
Definitely. Molly, an artist, she's working on opening her own studio. And Miriam sounded interesting. She's a preschool teacher who also organizes art shows across the Bay Area.
That's such a cool combination. She's like building bridges, connecting local artists directly with buyers. That's huge for creatives.
For sure. You also noted landscape design people. Kristen doing residential landscapes, and Maureen focusing on more high-end residential gardens. And then there was Kat, a goldsmith.
Oh, yes, but the notes mentioned her experience level. 40 years.
40 years. Yeah. That kind of deep, traditional craft knowledge is, well, it's becoming so rare, isn't it?
It really is.
Her shop does custom work, repairs, appraisals, even repurposing old jewelry.
Wow, 40 years. That's some serious expertise. Someone you'd absolutely trust with, like a family heirloom. She sounds like a real community asset, preserving a valuable craft.
Totally. Almost part of the local history, in a way.
Okay, what about essential business services, like cleaning and organizing?
Catherine was mentioned. She represents a third-generation commercial cleaning and organizing company.
Third generation. Wow. That speaks volumes, doesn't it? Stability, deep roots.
It really does. And they're apparently looking to expand locally, too. That multi-generational history suggests, a high level of trust, proven capability. Logan was also briefly mentioned, maybe in similar services. So a mix of established family businesses and perhaps some newer players there.
Now, earlier you mentioned AI popping up with tariffs. Your notes also had a specific section on AI integration from the event itself.
Yes, it was almost like a highlight reel of how local folks are actually using AI and digital tools right now. It showed this really forward-thinking vibe happening alongside the more traditional businesses.
What were some examples they shared?
Okay, things like using AI for email marketing, mentioning MailSoftly data specifically. Stephanie Marone in real estate maybe using AI for targeted marketing, like focusing on empty nesters or downsizers.
Makes sense.
Kim Ryle building digital media platforms and brands, and Abe Nasser using SEO and digital publishing through Publisher and something called the Speaker's Edge to boost online visibility.
So it's not just talk about AI. These are people actively integrating it into their local businesses day to day. That shows real dynamism, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's that blend, adopting new tools alongside that deep established expertise, like the goldsmith we just talked about.
Let's shift focus a bit to the nonprofit sector. Your notes really seem to emphasize their presence. Sounded like there's a lot of heart driving that part of the community.
Incredible heart, yes, and real impact. A surprising range, too. Period balls, for instance.
Period balls. What's their focus? The name is memorable.
It is. And such heartwarming work. They provide warm clothes to kids in hospitals, and they grant wishes through character visits.
Character visits, like costumed characters.
Yes. The notes specifically mentioned Moana, and even mermaids visiting sick children.
Mermaids, visiting kids in the hospital. That's just lovely. Talk about bringing joy in really tough circumstances.
Isn't it? And they also focus on philanthropy education, teaching kids about giving back early on.
That's fantastic. What other nonprofits stood out in the notes?
ERO was mentioned. They do the incredibly tough, crucial work with foster youth, finding safe places, providing essential daily support. That addresses such a fundamental, often urgent community need.
Absolutely vital work, and often goes unseen, too.
For sure. And the arts were represented on the nonprofit side through the European Foundation. Gina, the chair and managing director, was there. They connect performing arts with the community, support local cultural stuff, adding that layer of enrichment.
So from mermaids bringing smiles to fundamental support for foster youth to arts enrichment, the nonprofit sector sounds deeply committed and really woven into the business side of things.
Completely woven together, yet not like separate silos at all. It feels very integrated.
Was there any buzz in your notes about upcoming community stuff, new developments, events?
Yes, definitely some forward energy noted. Big news is the Lafayette Scoop ice cream shop opening in June.
Ice cream. Always a good sign for community life.
Yeah.
And this isn't just any ice cream shop, right?
No, they're featuring some big Bay Area names. Mitchell's, Old Town Creamery,
Oh,
Fenton's.
wow. The classics, the legendary spots. That sounds like it could become a major community hub.
Huge potential for foot traffic, yeah.
Yeah.
And interestingly, your notes mentioned the next Lafayette Connectors meeting is actually planned to be held at the Scoop.
Really? They're changing the location already. That shows how quickly these new spots can become part of the community fabric.
Exactly. What about bigger events?
There's a Lafayette Art and Wine Festival mixer coming up July 30th, open to all members, includes vendor booths for businesses and nonprofits. Okay, art, wine, local businesses. Sounds like a good opportunity for a broader visibility, bigger connections.
Definitely. And your notes also pointed out the Chamber's consistent, ongoing activities beyond just these meetings.
Right.
Things like the Business Women's Group with that smart alternating schedule, young professionals events, volunteer opportunities, educational speakers like someone from the Better Business Bureau recently. It shows it's not just random events. There's a steady effort to provide value and keep momentum going.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit then. Based on everything we've just pulled from your meeting notes, what's the big picture here? What does this collection of people, businesses, nonprofits, activities, what does it really tell us about the specific local ecosystem in Lafayette?
I think the most striking thing is just the deep interconnectedness of it all. It's really not a collection of isolated silos. You've got essential services rubbing shoulders with creatives, supporting each other, and they're deeply woven into the work the nonprofits are doing. Everything feels like it feeds into everything else.
Yeah, and it shows how those bigger, even global things like market jitters or tariffs actually land locally, how they translate into human roles like that financial advisor becoming an emotional counselor. The global really meets the local in very tangible human ways.
It does. And the tech piece too, right? Seeing local folks actually integrating AI and digital publishing shows they're not stuck in the past. There's this current of forward thinking, blending new tools with that really deep established expertise like the 40-year goldsmith.
And that networking format, forcing people to introduce each other, it really felt like a deliberate statement, didn't it? About valuing meaningful connection over just collecting cards, really trying to build relationships.
Absolutely. Felt very intentional. And the nonprofits, I mean, from the pure joy of mermaids visiting sick kids to the absolute necessity of supporting foster youth, it paints a clear picture of a community where social responsibility isn't just some add-on. It seems genuinely linked with commercial success here.
Plus, you see actual tangible business development happening. The chiropractor needing space, the artist planning a studio, the cleaning company expanding, that ice cream shop opening up. These are concrete signs of dynamism.
It's that mix, isn't it? The stability you see in the multi-generational business, the long-term goldsmith, alongside these new ventures and the tech adoption. It feels like a really healthy blend, old and new, kind of driving things forward together.
Your notes from this meeting really give a unique window into what seems like a very alive, engaged, evolving local scene. It really highlights the value of, face-to-face connection and having a rich network where expertise, creativity, and compassion all support each other.
And beyond just the meeting notes themselves, your sources also included some material that touched on broader concepts and related projects, things that seem connected to this kind of community building we've been discussing, but maybe on a larger scale.
Right, like this idea of actively assembling parts of the American dream, as it was put.
Exactly. The source material talks about using tools like AI audibles and networking for publicity, low-cost media marketing. This includes tools like Mail Softly, which we actually saw an example of at the meeting for invites and promotion.
Mail Softly, right.
Yeah. It's presented as this kind of fusion of modern digital tools, perhaps like ChatGPT for strategy networking, and more traditional media marketing. The audible part implies that real-time adjustment, that agility, is key.
Sounds like an innovative approach to getting visibility, staying flexible. And speaking of fusion, your sources mentioned FinFit Life, represented by Ron Horry, described as more of a movement focused on health, wealth, and lifestyle. Healthy, wealthy, and happy.
Yeah, it sounds like an attempt to create a single platform addressing both health issues, like being overweight, and financial situations. It's a startup in financial services, but with a global strategy too, expanding internationally.
Interesting combination.
Your sources highlighted it's described as maybe the only company combining health, wellness, and financial services quite like this, using incentives, gamification, even mentioned things like walking points, earning gift cards.
That gamification piece is interesting, makes health goals maybe more engaging, and there were connections noted to medical testing companies for early cancer detection.
Yes, and the mission sounds like it's meant to be actively lived out, not just words on paper, like the team doing workouts together. Plus, it offers a platform for people wanting to be their own boss, with a big emphasis on coaching and mentoring, which sort of ties back to that idea of building something for yourself.
It does. And this idea of adapting quickly, which feels so critical today, came up again with that concept of AI audibles.
Yes, like a coach calling an audible mid-game, right? Adjusting strategy on the fly. It's presented as vital for staying current because AI tech is just evolving so rapidly. Your source notes even suggested the pace of change might be faster now than in years,
Yeah.
maybe measured in months even.
That's incredibly fast.
Yeah, it highlights that adaptability isn't just a nice to have, it's pretty much essential now.
There's that pretty powerful quote in the source material, too. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody else who knows how to use AI. That really hammers home the need for continuous learning, doesn't it?
It really does. Makes the case for ongoing AI education very starkly.
And related to that, the AI Super Campus was mentioned, described as both a physical place and a movement. Your notes mentioned a specific Lafayette property that sounded pretty remarkable.
Yeah, apparently set right in nature trees, deer, turkeys, hawks. A tranquil, relaxing environment described as great for thinking, learning, growing. Just sounds like an inspiring place.
And this connects to something called the Great Discovery, which was presented as the intended location for a podcast listening library of the American dream.
Right. The stated purpose being to export the American dream globally, aiming to protect its unique spirit and mindset, teaching what this new American dream looks like, helping people plan and prepare their companies.
So the ultimate goal of the AI Super Campus and these AI audibles seems tied to creating this global resource, this library for people wanting to be American dream creators. The idea is to help people get heard, basically. Move beyond just being content creators lost in the noise by being in the right place, engaging with specific content like this podcast, listening with top trainers at the Great Discovery. It's definitely a specific vision for leveraging tech and community to spread ideas globally.
And that brings us back to that fusion and assembly line concept mentioned in your sources. The idea that what we're doing right now, this deep dive reviewing these notes, it's essentially assembling and reassembling content for listening.
Precisely. And the meeting itself was seen as just the start of an assembly line. People move from that rapid networking to potentially having more in-depth meetings one-on-ones or these small groups, the trifecta concept.
Right, those 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 gatherings.
Yeah.
Seen as time-efficient ways to build deeper synergy, maybe spark some real collaborations quickly.
And combining these in-person interactions with media, like the AI audibles, helps build someone's media presence alongside their real-world connections. It shows a strategy of building both, in-person networks and online visibility in a coordinated way.
Makes sense.
And your notes even included that practical tip for integrating learning with activity, the Japanese walking or 3x3 walking.
Oh, right, the interval walking. 3 minutes normal pace, 3 minutes faster, repeat. Just a simple technique, but it makes walking more intentional while you're listening or learning. Highlights that focus on being deliberate with how you use your time for both physical and mental growth.
And the source material circled back again to the importance of who you network with, emphasizing connecting with smart people, specifically those using AI effectively, described as coming from top universities.
Yeah, the goal again being helping others get smart through continued AI education. Getting smarter not just professionally, but in all parts of life. Building relationships, combating loneliness, getting away from doom scrolling and brain rot.
Right, cultivating real long-term friendships.
Exactly. Through a blend of in-person and, using tools like ChatGPT for networking strategy, the value of those long-term friendships was really explicitly highlighted as vital.
And Ron Horry's role at FinFit was framed as more than just a business leader, right? Described as a guide, someone who helps people, listens, really super serves clients, and understands how to leverage tools like AI.
It does feel like these broader concepts, while distinct from the specific meeting notes, definitely resonate with those themes we saw reflected in the meeting itself. Community building, leveraging tech that focus on holistic personal growth. They kind of echo each other.
Okay, so thinking about everything we've just unpacked from your notes and sources, the nitty-gritty of the Lafayette meeting, the specific businesses, the nonprofits, that unique networking style, and then these related bigger ideas like AI audibles, FinFit, the whole vision for an American Dream Library.
Here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to ponder. Consider this really unique mix we encountered just in that one meeting snapshot. You've got a 40-year goldsmith, right? Preserving deep craft skills, side by side with a chiropractor who has this incredibly specific focus on just two vertebrae.
Such different ends of the spectrum.
Totally. And you have a third-generation family business expanding its roots, a nonprofit sending actual mermaids to visit sick kids while also doing the hard, essential work of supporting foster youth.
So what does that particular combination, that blend of deep, specific expertise, intergenerational stability, highly focused innovation, and just profound, varied compassion, what does that tell you about what truly forms the resilient and, well, prosperous bedrock of a local community in today's world? What are those essential, maybe sometimes unexpected layers that really hold a place like this together and drive it forward?
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us again today.